Yo, it's your boy H2O. We back up in this place and we have another one for you. Man, welcome to the New Balance Podcast. I'm your potential conditioner, H2O. And as promised, we back again. Listen, as I always say, we have a special episode, special show for you. And listen, today is no different than any other day, man. I have a special guest in, and we're going to get to him in just a minute. But I have to shout out all of my people who came out on yesterday that supported the Hope Symposium. Listen, it was incredible. Lives were changed. We planted seeds. God said some going to plant, some going to water, but he's going to get the increase. Listen, we turned a community upside down yesterday, and I'm so excited about it. Every partner, every staff member, every volunteer, all of the people who came together to help us make this happen, man. I'm just so grateful, man. And I'm telling you, teamwork makes the dream work. So to all my teammates, man, shout out to you. We got some other things coming down the pipe, but I just had to stop and say thank you to everybody who played a part, every participant. And it was so phenomenal, man. I feel like a proud father seeing, this baby that I've been carrying for more than 9 months. It was birthed on yesterday. And man, I'm just elated. God is so good. So I had to shout everybody out on that. Now, that's out of the way. Let's talk about this New Balance podcast show for today. New Balance podcast. I want y'all to show my man some love, Mr. Ray Young Jr. What's good, Ray?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's always a blessing.
Yeah, man. Look, man. We connected a little while back, and just talking to you, we didn't get to spend a lot of time together because the event we were at, we were both working. But one of the things I love about God is, when you think about like close friends or people you have relationships with, it's really been built and it's been fortified over time, right? But there are times when God just drops people in your heart. And my favorite example of that is when you read and you study the life of David, it was obvious that God dropped David in Jonathan's heart, man. After all, Jonathan was the rightful heir. He had a place, but because of what God did, he put David in Jonathan's heart. And man, he connected him in such a way. And I believe there are times you don't have to have been around a person or known them for a long time. It's just a connection that God wants to do. And I can truly say that about us on that day. And why would you say that? Two things you said, man, that just really stood out to me, even though we were working. And it reminded me of something my mom told me. One thing that stood out was one, we both have Paul Quinn ties. Yeah, so that's always love. Shout out to PQ Nation. You know what I mean? Tigers for life, baby. That was one tie. And then the other thing you said to me is, man, you say, man, are you a man of God? Are you a minister? And when you said that to me, my mind went back to what my mom used to tell me growing up. And she would tell me all the time that, hey, listen, you don't have to go around with business cards and you don't have to have on the priestly garment, the robe. She said, look, just live a life. And she said, it'll take care of itself. So when you said that to me, it was just the words that she's been telling me, the thing that I've been doing my very best to practice. I may not always hit it, but for you to have that perception, that told me a lot about you. And so I was like, the more I talked to you, the more I was like, I think there's a fit here. We need to hook up and talk about life and see if we can be a blessing to some people that's similar to us, right? And so, Ray, man, bring us up to speed, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us what's been going on in your life.
Sure, man. I'm originally from Waco, Texas. That's where I was born and raised. When I got a little bit older, before I kind of dropped out of school, I was staying in Fort Worth as well, where my dad is from, Butler Housing Projects, south side of Fort Worth. Nevertheless, growing up, man, I faced a lot of challenges, obstacles. Single parent home. My dad was incarcerated at a time when a man is needed to be in presence of a young man like me at that time. just dealt with depression, wanted to give up in life, man. I was planning ways to even to leave myself from this earth, uh, just to get out of that living environment. Many days we would go without no lights, taking alcohol baths, having no food. I remember sometimes trying to scuffle to make money, go pawn stuff, and get the blood drawn, all that stuff. I was in and out of juvenile. I was on a path, man, where I was kind of hanging around with this one dude. He was an older dude, like kind of like a crip or whatever. And so I saw that's all I saw because that's the only thing that was around me. I really didn't have no male figures. Everything was learned by trial by fire. Um, it seemed like every time I had a male figure coming into play, they left with empty promises. And so I started working at a young age as well. So I feel like I've been a man since I was young. So I grew up at a young age. Wound up jumping out of school right after ninth grade, and then moving on, I got my GED, and so I was struggling. I knew I was smart. I knew I was intelligent. I knew I had a lot in me. But the thing is, I didn't have exposure. I didn't have guidance. I didn't have none of those things. But nevertheless, I met my wife, and that right there was really kind of struck the fire of getting exposure because when she graduated from UT in Austin and with the study in biomedical engineering, 2 weeks after that we got married. 2 weeks after that we got married. We got on the highway, separate cars, going to San Diego, California. And the thing right there is she was going there to get her PhD in biomedical science. But lo and behold, it gave me exposure because I never saw an ocean like that. I never thought I'd be sitting at somebody's house as a millionaire, stuff like those, sitting on top of a mountain looking at water. And it just opened my mind up. I say, man, I never saw these things, the fears that were put in me, poured into me when I was young. And so I wound up being the first in my family to go to college because when I was in California, I was like, man, I'm trying to apply for jobs. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to do X, Y, Z. But every time I had that requirement, I didn't have it. And so, man, I was the first, like I say, first to graduate college. Man, I got my bachelor's of science, Springfield College in Human Services. But I started off at Paul Quinn. But lo and behold, a lot of people don't know, I went through 11 different colleges before my first college degree. So I could have gave up many times. At one point when I was getting my degree, my bachelor of science, we lost a child. And I could have gave up at that time. And I think 2 semesters away before getting that bachelor's degree. And at that point, I felt like just dropping everything. But, God said it was the time. So it was time for you to move forward and get that goal out the way. When I finished there a month after that, I went into my master's of counseling. And then saying in 2017, I wanted to finish going to Virginia Union University, study for my master's in divinity. Finished in 2019. Got back here to Texas in 2019. And so, yeah, man, that's just some of the stories, some of the things I faced. I can share if you want me in regards to what am I doing now. I kind of give you my professional background. My professional background is teaching, counseling, working in nonprofit sector, very involved in the community. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm also a national service awardee through AmeriCorps and some other awards, nevertheless. I have a brand called MyGo, MYGO, and it stands for My Greatness Overcomes, because I believe everybody have greatness in themselves to overcome anything that they face or anything that they're putting their mind set to. Then a lot of people see the logo with a panther. And I said, the reason why I chose the panther, I get a little deeper. I said, in the panther, you go into Africa, the panther is very unique. So we all have uniqueness that is something that sets us apart from everybody else. And so I don't want to just have a brand and you just wear it. I want to have a brand that's going to strike up a conversation. And then when the person see your shirt, it's going to empower them if they're going through something at that same time. I have a nonprofit called Young's Vision Achievement Consulting. I do a lot of stuff with youth in the community. I do stuff, especially with our young men. I try to pour into them my professional experience, my educational experience, and my life experience all in one.
Absolutely.
Uh, and then I'm a new author, children's book author. I'm called Malik and the Magic Bow Tie. And what you see in this book right here is a relationship between a Black father and Black son. And you see a positive relationship because we always get the stereotypical that the Black father is not in the household or the Black father's not doing this X, Y, Z. But one of the also the things that you see in the book, you see generational pass down, the importance of education, them being themselves, that they could overcome anything that they put their mindset to. And so we're breaking the mindset. My illustrator, who used to work for Disney, his name is Mr. Tyrus Gaucher. He did a 3D artwork as you see in the book. And then last thing, what I'm currently working on the second book I'm writing right now. And then also I'm working on my coaching business because what I was doing, I'm a certified life coach and a certified financial coach through the University of Houston downtown. And my goal with that is while I'm coaching, I see you. While doing coaching, hope to plan to now start booking myself to speak. And I plan to write another book, but it's not going to be a children's book, but it's going to be more of a life book, just using like practicalities and stuff. Because I'm an analogy type person. I like to use certain things. So that's where I'm at right now. So
Good. Hey man, I love every bit of it. And I'm so glad that I didn't stop. Normally I would cut in so we could unpack some of it, but on purpose, I wanted you to share every single bit of it.
right.
Kind of beginning, pieces of it, the middle, where you are now. And it's so ironic. Now I know specifically why we connected. But I want to start here and unpack the interview from this place. The first thing that pops out just listening to you talk is the word perseverance. Just being able to have staying power and no matter what season it is.
Right.
And as I listen to you talk, one of the, I think, game changers of life is the ability to keep going to the batter's box and swinging at pitches, even when you strike out. I'm telling you, I've been blessed to be in some rooms with people who are doing some great things on different levels. And I thought for a minute that it was like a secret society. They had these secret codes, they had these secret doors, and they had all these different secret things that the rest of us were not privy to. But the one thing that I found out was this is the first thing was they just believed on a level the rest of us wouldn't believe it. They believed the things that they were doing, they were supposed to be doing them, and why not them to be doing them? The second thing that I found out about them is that it didn't matter what pitches they struck out on, I'm gonna keep swinging till I get the hit or the hits that I want. And just listening to your story, man, you know the plight of our neighborhood. We know the plight of it. And so many young men have your story, have my story. They, at a certain point, depending on what they've been consuming, they get to the plate and they just quit swinging.
Right.
And so it's never good when dad's not at home. It's never good when you're having to grow up in poverty and you don't have just the basic necessities for life. Those is horrible. But what's even worse than those things is when you get to the point and you give up and you make up in your mind that, hey, I'm gonna do it another way. And we know doing it another way is always gonna lead to one or two places, the grave or in prison, right? That's what it's gonna end up, especially in our community. And one thing, and we'll really touch it on the end, one of the things that you said that we both have in common is you got to the point where, not only did I quit swinging, but I began to plan on how to just take one last swing and get on up out of here. And I think that's a conversation that I want to have and be a part of moving forward, because like never before, the mental issues and suicide is a big deal in our community. So You said those things, and I think it was a perfect lead way for this interview on today. So first, man, I appreciate you being open and honest. You know, man, it's hard to get black men, well, men, period, but especially black men. It's hard to get us just to sit down and open up and just be honest about life, where we are, how we feel. Now, let me say this too. Part of that is you need a model, you need a role model. We hadn't, no one's ever shown us how to do that. The model that we got was, or the model that was shown to us was, you got to be strong, you got to be tough. And this is what being strong and being tough looks like. You know, men, they don't cry. This is how you handle problems. And what happens is life, you're trying to embrace that model, and it's a model that God never designed us to imitate, right? And so I think it's so unique that you've taken your pain and turned it into purpose, because that's what God does. This book is full of people who took their pain and they turned it into purpose. And you know, thousands and thousands of years later, we're still reading those stories, drawing inspiration. We're still reading those stories, getting instructions for our life. So it's amazing that you and I are both authors. Um, when you think about a book and the power of the words in a book, um, just like we're using the Bible as an example, how we draw strength from it. When you think about our community, and for you to create this book, Malik and the Bow Tie, do you know how many lives are going to be saved? How many families that's going to help bring together? How many people is going to give direction to? How many people are going to draw hope and say, man, if he did that, I can do this. So I kind of want you to dig more into your inspiration and really what drives you to do what you do in terms of what you're doing right now in life. Like what inspires you? Obviously, your upbringing, you not having a father, and all of those horrible things, man, you went through. Obviously, that's inspiration. But what really drives you? Talk to us, Ray.
One thing is we always have to learn from the past so we can move in the future. And I take a very emphasis on our Black history. And
Yes.
and so I have to say this. A lot of times we don't like to read, or we don't care for, because we're in the now. But you gotta understand, some of the richest people that makes a living, they are readers, they are researchers. And
Yes, they
see,
are.
the ones that we think is rich are really not rich. They not even wealthy. But you have the rich that is rich and wealthy. But nevertheless, I started exposing myself. I remember one of my professors, he pushed me. His name is Dr. Velasco. And
Mm,
this what pushed me to move forward, because he saw something in me. He says, he puts up 100 books on the wall, on the board. He says, have anybody read any books? He was just asking. I was like, nah, I ain't read none of this stuff. He says, you have to read past what you're comfortable with. You
mm,
have to do. You have to read past what you only know, or what you only is accustomed to. So
mm.
he said you got to read to learn about others. That's why I started getting to learn about other cultures and everything like that. So the one thing is knowing who I am, reading this stuff. The second thing is I have to set a path for my son and my family. I carry them on my shoulders on a daily basis, because I have a mindset that I don't do 100% when I walk out the door. I got a 300% rule.
Mm,
100%. I'm 100% before I leave the house. I'm already judged, and I'm already at that lower pole. 200% is when I walk out the door. I'm on an equal level with everybody else. 300%, I'm gonna go above and beyond to be
mm,
different. So
mm,
that's I call it the 300%. And so, and then another thing is I want to make sure that not just my son see it or my family see it, but other boys that are not seeing what they see from their neighborhood, because we have this mindset that we think, let's kind of say it like this: we have young men fighting over blocks that they do not own. You can't, if they gentrify you, this is where we come back into the reading. If they gentrify you over here on the right, they're gonna move. You're gonna have to move over here to the left with your enemy. But see, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of those young men or young women don't understand that when the gangs was created, they really kind of started looking at the Black Panther. The Black Panther was to really protect the community. So I want to make sure that I enlighten them. I push to show them what it's like. It's not no, it's not going to be a perfect path for me. I mean, I'm a human too. I struggle with things as well. But the thing, I don't stop swinging, like you said a while ago. So those are some of the things that really pushes me. And I say this too. My dad is he's incarcerated now. He's down there by the Houston area. I'm Little Ray. My dad is Big Ray. And my dad is saying sometimes you are like the father and I'm like the son. And I
Mm,
said, and so I actually through a letter I rescued my dad from killing himself. And so I don't just do this for me and my family or the community. I also do it for my dad because he still has that light. He gets to see that light while he's in a dark place. And
mm,
so he said, if it wasn't for you, I would not be here right now. And
mm,
then also with him, he says, you don't know how much you inspired just me, but you also inspire other prisoners because of what you do. I remember wanting to go visit my dad and another dude, I ain't never seen him before. He was another inmate, whatever. And he says, hey, little Ray, keep pushing. You motivating me. So that's some of the things, man. I just try to
yeah,
inspire and remain humble and remember the word mercy. Because some of
yeah.
us could have been in the same position. We just didn't get caught.
We didn't get caught, bro. We didn't get caught, man. Incredible. Incredible. Now watch this, man. That's why purpose is so incredible. So now think about this. I think of it on the other side. Let's just say if you're not in purpose, not only are you still continue to struggle in life and just go through this storm and possibly not even be alive through your purpose, even though your father is incarcerated. God said, I'm still going to give a lifeline through your purpose. And through that
Mm,
lifeline is helping other men that are locked up. Because we know there are men that are not even locked up behind bars, but they're locked up walking around. We call them dead men walking.
yes, sir.
And so, man, the fact that um, you have embraced your inspiration and that you allow a thing to drive you, we have to find out what's driving us. And you gave the perfect analogy of the community and the things that drives us in the community. Like those things aren't driving us to the places that God desires. Those things that are in the community that they're driving communities, families, young black men, old black men, they're driving them to prison and they're driving them to the grave.
Right.
So I always ask, man, what's driving you? Like, what's your inspiration? Like, really? And what I found is a lot of times, man, we haven't taken the time to even find out is based off of what somebody else did or what somebody else said or what I think is right. So when you think about the power of media and the power of media in our community, we have to begin to do new math with the new math mind, right? So things that have been taught to us over generations. That's why it talks about it being a familiar spirit. So if you think about it, great grandfather was incarcerated, right? Grandfather was incarcerated, daddy was incarcerated, and so on and so on. But just by you embracing your inspiration and just at the simple fact of life is so sorry to me right now. I mean, if I had my choice, I would end it. But still, you still managed to get up, drag your back to the batters. You drug your back. See, that's what I understand. People think it's like it's automatic. You had to drag that back and swing. And it wasn't overnight, but it was over time. Because see, this is the thing that we have to remember. I hope my viewers that are watching, especially men, hear me. Hear me. I never get on here and I never advocate and push my book, but I feel led to do so today. I wrote a book to my son called God Has an App for That. It's my love letter and it's a playbook to my son. I realized that I began to see things in his life that mirrored my life and it bothered me as a father. You know, one of our responsibilities as a father is protect. We're supposed to protect. And he was dealing with some things that in the natural I could not protect him. I understood it was going to take some information. It was going to be some spiritual warfare that was going to have to take place. So I wrote the book just for simply out of love. It did nobody buy it. I mean, I wrote it for him, but I believe the principles and the convictions God gave me would bless anybody. So in one of the chapters is called "There's a Fixing in the Following," and I talk about the life of Peter. And it talks about, when we study this, it talked about how Jesus kept Peter close to him. We know why. We know why Jesus had to keep Peter close. Many of us are just like Peter. We're we're um, we're not close to the things we need to be. We're close with things that are detrimental to our lives and to us moving forward. But at any rate, the thing that I love about him, Jesus never put Peter down. He kept him close. And it don't matter how many times you study it or you try to pinpoint it, you can never really pinpoint where Peter turned around. I call it this: there was a fixing in the following. As long as he followed Jesus and he kept swinging, right? Because Jesus said, man, you're going to deny me, the whole nine. But because he was able to continue to follow, he eventually got his life together and began to do some incredible things for God. And I see manhood that way. So when I listen at your story, it was like, man, look, I have to continue to do this. Now, you could never know that the impact that you were going to have would end up eventually saving your own father. That is so incredible, man. That is so incredible. But it comes from embracing the inspiration. It comes from allowing the thing to drive you forward, right? There's a lot of driving going on, but it's not moving people forward, right?
Right. Yes,
So I know you're a family man. That's one thing I gathered from you too. You know, I was looking at you. So man, let's talk about this Malik and the magic bow tie. Let's delve into that, man, because I think that concept is so powerful. I think when you were there, you had a bow tie on. You was like, man, I love bow ties. So talk to me about Malik, and let's go into this whole book, man. I think it's a powerful concept.
Okay. So Malik, that's my son's name. And so his full name is Malik Isaiah Young. Isaiah, salvation of God. That's one of the reasons we named him that. But I named him Malik because in Africa they say Malik, but it stands for king. So if anybody say anything negative or positive, they gonna have to say he's a king, regardless of the fact. And then every time I talk to him, I tell him, I say, you are a king. Hold your head up high and walk forward. Where I got the bow tie part was that when you first put on a bow tie, it's not always perfect. Nobody never taught me how to tie a tie. I had to look at YouTube to do a bow tie. And so when I put it on the first time, man, my muscles hurting, they cramping up, and I'm all over the place. And so I applied it to life. Yeah. See, when you put on the boat, when you try something the first time, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be looking all nice and shining and everything. You got to keep doing it until it looks perfect, and then everybody else see what you've been through to get it to the position where it needs to be. And so that's one of the reasons why I got the bow tie part. Also, especially with our young men, and that's any race, as any father, when you put a tie on and you tie something and you look your son in the eyes, there's a relation, there's a kinship there. There's something powerful between that. There's something standing in the middle of y'all to bring that connections together. So that's the reason why you got the title. And it's I have to say about the illustration. I say I want a particular illustration that's going to pop out. And so I remember seeing this one lady. I said, man, I reached out on Facebook. I said, man, your book is nice. Who get it done? They told me who it was. I said, all right, okay. Second time, when I was in Virginia, I'm coming out of church. It was during the conference time. And right when I walk out the door, I see a guy standing with his book on to my left. I said, man, that artwork looks very familiar. And when he told me who, I said, all right, it's confirmed. That's who I need to go with. That's what I need to do. And also, I wanted to make sure that it was someone that looked like me, but also that could put that really loved this work. And Tyrus Gaucher really loved this work. And now, the part I got, it was in the book, like I said, the importance of education.
Yes.
Malik is smart. Malik is very intelligent. So we have a lot of youth that has a lot in them, But on it's a part in a part of the book, you see the hand on Malik's shoulder.
Yes.
That don't have to be the father hand. That could be a mentor, someone that's a guardian or something, a coach, a counselor. We need to put hands on our kids, not saying in a physical manner or whatnot, but we are in a distance where we can connect and push them into the position that they are called to be. And
Mm.
then I have generational pass down in it. And then in our culture, it's very important when we have history or something relatable. If a father passed down this certain hat or tie, or your mother passed some certain type of box to you, it means something to you. So you want to
Yes.
keep it within the family. Um, and then in the book you see like Malik dealing with people coming against him and stuff. What I try to say is, no matter what comes against you, you can overcome that no matter how they try to approach you or how they try to attack you, because you're going to get the victory at the end. And then lastly, that you know that you have the ability to do anything and impact anybody and empower anyone around you.
Mm.
So you see if everybody, I've had people come up to me and say, "Man, that motivated me. I'm an elder." Uh, And now, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, if you go to that page of mine for Malik and the Magic Bow Tie, there's two brothers reading the book on the video. One brother says, he says, brother, man, that look like me. That Malik look like me. So it's not just impacting us; it's impacting many coaches
Yes.
and stuff.
Yeah. That's important, man. I think it's so important. And anybody watching this, don't get it twisted. But we were there that day, and I was looking at all the creativity of all the children writers. I was telling my kids, I was like, man, I would have loved to have read Malik and the Magic Bow Tie when I was a kid. And they were like, well, Dad, what kind of books did you read? I said, the book I remember was reading Clifford, the Big Red Dog.
Yeah,
Now, ain't no knock on Clifford, the Big Red Dog, because there were lessons in that book. But I'm
right.
saying, in terms of what I was dealing with in life, Clifford didn't have an answer for me. Clifford, nothing in that book could heal or give me solace or give me direction about my pops not being at home, about the things that we were dealing with. And it didn't look anything like me, even the cartoon. So I'm saying these books is not just something for somebody to just say, hey, I want to be a Arthur. It's not about that. It's about creating a legacy and putting something in place that hadn't been there, right? Like I was telling a good friend of mine yesterday, I said, man, you know what I realized in this season of life? Man, we become our parents. Like I daily, I think about, man, there's not a day that goes by. The lessons my mom taught me, things she showed me, she's just a part of my everyday life. And so
Right.
now I have a responsibility to pass these things on, not only to my children, but to help others with their children, community, families. Like we have a responsibility to do it. So I don't care whenever it's time for us to move on. This book, Malik and the Magic Bow Tie, it'll be around forever. We'll never know the true impact that it makes, right? And so I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's important for us to embrace. Going back, you have to embrace your inspiration. Take your inspiration out. You don't write the book. Look at all the people that you've robbed, right?
Right.
So it's very, very important when we follow after our passion and the thing that inspires us. So you kind of touched on it. I know sometimes when you're doing a thing, like when I wrote the book for my son, I wrote it with him at the forefront of my thoughts and my heart. But I was also wise enough to understand that in me writing to him, my experience of living in a home with a single mother, all of that's going to come out. My experience of not having my dad, all of that's going to come out in the writing. My experience of all the potholes that I fell in, and some of them I didn't fall in, I jumped in because of disobedience. All of that's going to come out in the writing. My question to you is this: how do you balance making your message relevant, not just for your intended audience, meaning the people, your tunnel vision, but how do you write it in such a way that if a little Hispanic boy or a little Asian boy picks up this book and wants to read it, how do you write it to make it across the board? What would you say to that?
I just say you research. One thing you find, like I said, I like history and like different cultures. There's something. Remember, I was saying the generational pass down,
Right.
something culturally, and oftentimes, this might be on the sidetrack a little bit, but
No,
when a
go ahead.
father, when sometimes between a father and son relationship, there's a sourness there because they weren't about finances and money and stuff. But you notice that the bow tie was not purchased. It was an older gift. It was just something that's laying around. And the thing was, it was more time. The father spent more time with him more than he's talked about, putting the bow tie in his hand and stuff like that. Just think about it.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
it was the importance of present over presence. And so
I got you.
that was one of the things I looked at as well, man. Just how does it relate, a father, far as the father being present. And that goes into different, from my professional experience, in the social services aspect and counseling and stuff. So that's how I knew about being relatable in that way.
Mm,
Also, school, school, every kid got to go through school mostly in the United
yes.
States. So
Yes.
looking at school, looking at that from a school educational standpoint. And then, one of the things we see as well was that kids are committing suicide due to bullying and all this other stuff. And
Whoa.
so what you see in the book as well, I have that point that's pushed right there. But what it is that Malik is, they just have to read it. But it's a pointer that deals with bullying, that deals with these situations. The bullying could be just in person on social media. So that was because that's been big right now. So I made that relatable. So it's just quite a few things that I made sure that I looked across the board when it comes to looking at it from a holistic view.
Man, that's powerful. I think, man, I not just think I know um this is a season for what's a good term? When you look at and I like it personally, I know a lot of people may not like it, but I love the Avenger movies.
Mhm.
And I like how all of these people have their superpower or their strength, and they are forced to have to unite, fight together for one common cause. And
Right.
the interview, I forget, I'm kind of mixed up in my weeks, but I know it's coming up in a rotation. When you talked about your book, I even sensed that when I talked to him and we did the interview. Brandon Smith, man, his book Captain B. I don't know if you had a chance to chop it up with Brandon. Man,
Mhm.
it's y'all have some similarities there. And so we did a podcast together. So when you get a chance, man, hopefully you get a chance to check out the podcast. Now, no way possible do I even know how this interview is going to go. But after
Right.
having the interview with him, when you go back and watch it, he was like, man, there's no way Harry could have articulated the interviews. I'm just saying it's the time for us to connect and bring our superpowers together so the things that we desire, the things that we love can be better, man. So I love that, because one thing about what you said is I don't care what race you are, being a father, being present in your child's life and being present in your family and communities in your community's life, it's at the top of the list. I don't care what race. Now we understand the plight of our specific communities, but that
Right.
is a situation across any, doesn't matter what you look like. That's just that's something that God put in place for mankind. Not for Black fathers, but mankind. Period. And so the fact that you were open enough, you know what I mean, to not just be thinking about Malik, but you're thinking about other fathers and their sons. I love it. Your heart, man. That's the thing I love about it. And that's what I perceived from you was this guy's heart. It's not this. This ain't just about selling books and trying to create this brand. He really, truly, and genuinely is trying to put a product in place that's going to help people be better and moving forward. So I was like, okay, you just everything, man, everything.
Thank you.
One of the things I also perceive about you is I sense like you have a desire to impact the world in such a way that you want to change the world. So with that weight, I understand everybody can't walk under that weight of glory and pursue that type of thing. But for those of us who do embrace it, how do you see yourself impacting the world, changing the world in the next 3 to 5 years?
Man, it seems like it's already starting, especially with the book. It's like
Yeah,
I said, I had two interviews in Europe. The book is, was talked about there. Just saw I did a donation book in Africa, so it's a book in Africa now. I have books just now starting to go into schools. I
yeah,
remember it was 200. I think it was 250 boys, black boys, that they did this program at Crowley ISD. They bought books and put all the books into their kids' hands. But nevertheless, um, I plan to be very impactful where I have the freedom. One of the guys, I call him like, you have mentors that you have physically, but you have mentors from a distance, and
yes.
that's at your choice. Eric Thomas, ET, the hip hop preacher,
Can
because
we
of his related.
hold on, man? Can we? Hey, man, can we just let me shout ETA out. Let me shout out Eric Thomas, the whole team. See, I told you, man. There's so many things that we're gonna chop it up after the podcast too. But I just wanted to put in a plug there. And once again, when you go back and watch this, you'll understand. People that rock with me, they know. So it's just confirmation. It's important that you say that, and you can tell people we have not. This ain't no scripted podcast. You and I didn't talk no strategy. What you're seeing right before your eyes is, I'm telling you, purpose being unveiled. And all I want to do is just, I want you to stop and I want you to just put some energy and some effort into the thing that you should be doing, or the thing that you've been inspired to do. I'm telling you, it is life changing. So go ahead, man. Go ahead and talk about ET. I just had to interject that because it's so critical, right? I think if we don't talk about it and testify about it, people who watch this, they'll miss the thing that they need to walk away with. So go ahead, bro. I just had to put that in.
No, no problem, man. One of the things is about ET, man, was he was relatable to my story, dropping out, dealing with homelessness, the educational aspect, man, but just going out speaking and empowering people, man. I want to speak, travel the world. I want to get to a level on his level. I just got to continue to perfect that craft. Man, one
Yes.
day I hope to connect. One of my dreams is to connect with him and the guy that really helped him also launch his Words Taylor. Um, that dude's really down to earth. I liked his story, how he came from. And so I really used a lot of mentors from a distance because, like I said, I didn't really have them
Right.
because I've carried everything on my shoulder.
Right.
So that's one thing I want to do as far as impacting. I want to, do coaching, empower people. One of the things, and you probably wouldn't know this, man. I was laid off on June 18th last month, and what I was doing was coaching. I was coaching employees, and so many of the clients that I had, I was getting emails, and so they was like, "Man, you pushed me to start my business, man. You pushed me to go live my dream." And so I'm like, man, I'm getting these emails. One lady said, "You broke something that I've been holding on for years, and I've overcame it because of you." And so I'm like, man, I'm not getting paid. I'm working for a nonprofit. It's not like it's a big pay, but I want to coach. So I want to coach, speak, and write books, and man, and however I can help empower people, man. I want to make my gift make room, but also I want God to blow on my gift, like the seed in the ground, and make sure that when it grows, that it does not just go straight up. It started to fall out and hit people. Just start going
Yeah.
that way,
Yeah. Well, man, I tell you what, man, just on some man to man and two brothers having a conversation, I've sat where you sat. And so me and my family, man, we put our faith with your family that the doors that should be open, and we decree that they open, man. And the doors that you're not supposed to walk in, we decree that those are shut down. And I believe it's impossible for you to have the heart you have. And one thing my previous pastor told me years ago, he said, remember this, not that you do it, that you're trying to do it, but he said God would never allow you to outgive him. So in other words, when you think of it this way, the desire that you have, the love that you have, the passions that you have, think about this. God places them there. So he places them there. And then on the flip side, then he gives you the passion to want to pursue them. He's the dream giver, right? And then he is the dream driver. In other words, I'll give you the dream, I'll give you put all these things in your heart to do. Then I'm gonna give you the motivation. I'll put things in your life to stimulate that, right? So think about this. If he puts them in your heart, like you didn't put these things in your heart, he puts them in your heart, your life story, all that. Then he gives you to do it. The third thing is he always gives provision for the promise. He always gives provision for the purpose. And so one of the things is when you're going through, it's tough to hold on because it's like, man, I need that provision right now. But somebody watch it, not just you. I believe it's on purpose. Because think about, man, the pandemic, somebody left work and they have not went back to work.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure it out. And I believe part of this pandemic has been a reset for so many reasons. And I think they're going to be great reasons. Some of it is we're going to have to walk it out, right? But other reasons to get us in the place that we need to be. And so, you just being open and honest to share that, I'm telling you, there's nothing like giving it away. When you give away, you open up for God to sow into your life and make the thing for you happen as well. Trust me, man, I get the emails, I get the DMs, I get the texts, man, people just telling me how impactful this podcast has been. I can't tell you what our numbers are and how many, I don't know any of that, but I do know the impact that it's having in the lives of people. And so today, this is not just your normal podcast that I've been doing. I believe it was ordained for such a time as this, not only for you and I to connect, Ray,
Yes,
but for you to help some people who otherwise you wouldn't have a chance to meet or be able to connect with. And I'm all about this. I'm constantly saying, okay, God, what's the next? What now? What's next? How I begin to watch how you set it up. I played ball back in the day, and it's like the person guarding you, my mind was always like, look, I'm not necessarily worried about this play, trying to score on you, but I'm setting you up really for the third and fourth quarter so I can really do what I want to do. And how you set a person up that's defending you is it's all about giving them the same thing over and over and over again. With all along, when the opportunity is right, you're going to give up something that they hadn't seen or that they're not ready for. And so many times, I feel like that's how our relationship is with God. He'll use the thing that we've been doing, the repetition, and the repetition of it. And what God does in that thing is he builds character in us, right? He builds stability in us. He builds integrity in us. He builds morals in us, right? And it teaches us how to trust him when we can't trace him. But then God will do this, man. God will say, you're playing part guard. He'll call a timeout in your life. And when you go back on the court, now he has you playing small forward. You're like, man, God, I'm 5'8", but yet you got me playing small forward. If you know God makes that move, you know it's for a distinct reason, right? And so, man, this podcast has been it's been so good for so many reasons, Ray. And man, like I said, I can't wait to talk to you off camera, but I thought about all the things that we have in common. You're a junior, I'm a junior, right? My father wasn't incarcerated behind physical walls, but he was incarcerated, man, through drug abuse, man, low self-esteem, pity.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't know what it's like to be behind bars in that way, but yet he lived his whole life behind bars. When you talked about the reason you named your son Malik, our son name is Matthew. Matthew means gift of God. We named him that on purpose, right? I would have loved him to name him Harry the Third, but I understood he had a unique purpose in life that didn't have anything to do with me. It was about him and God. My job is to model it in front of him. So dads out there who watching, I pray, man, that you're encouraged by this interview. Before I let Ray go, um, he talked about, his life, like just so open, and we have a thing that we do, a mentorship that we do called removing the fig leaves and removing the mask. I feel like that was this type of podcast, just to open honest dialect. But I do want to ask you to share with me before I let you go, if you could talk to me about either three people who have inspired you or three people who inspire you now. And obviously, you shared one that we both have in common, and that's ET and ETA, and a powerful movement that they have going on in the earth. But share with us, man, people who inspire you or have inspired you, Ray.
Yeah. So oftentimes we get caught up into the famous, inspirational, the influencers, and we always forget the diamonds that's in the rough right there.
Yes,
So
sir.
and so one is I call him my big bro, Donovan Thompson. I've been knowing him for a long time. Man, he's been a man's man, a brother's brother. When I was down and out, he's praying for me. He
Um,
encouraged me. He's pushing me. He's like he sees stuff in me. So uh, that's a problem that sometimes we have as black men. We don't never want to have trust, and so we got to work on our trust. And then
yeah,
remember, but we all going through the same thing, man. Me and him kind of have relatable stories. So him. Uh, of course, my lovely wife, man, she is very intelligent. We're both opposite. So I'm more the outgoing and she's more laid back.
oh my
And
God, man. Can we talk about that, brother?
go ahead.
Man. But it works though.
Yeah.
It works, brother. It works. And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I would be done drove somebody else crazy. My wife is perfect for me. I do know that sometimes she want to go upside my head with a hammer. You know what I mean? But she's perfect for me, man. So I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And she's one of the things, she is so humble. She is so she comes from a small town. She doesn't get into all the big stuff, but one thing she's about her business. I always use this analogy. I say I was big on analogy. These are my strengths, my fingers right here.
Right.
The gap is my weakness, but when she comes in, she fills in the gap with her strength and fills my weaknesses, and that brings us together as one. And so
I'm gonna use
that's
that. I'm just telling you right now. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna give
go
you credit for
ahead,
it. I'm gonna give you credit.
man.
I say, hey, my boy Ray Jr., I got this from him. So trust me, I'm gonna shout you
Yeah,
out on
man.
it, man.
Yeah, man. And then a lot of people don't. A lot of people look at your mess, but don't understand what's a blessing. But my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, I'm gonna put them all into a group. But because of the sacrifices they even made, even though everything was not perfect.
Yeah,
And one thing I always tell my dad was like, I wish I could do this for you. No, Dad, you know what you're doing? You're giving me something that somebody don't have. You giving
yeah,
me a conversation. And
yeah.
I cherish, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I cherish the conversation more than that. Man, that's like getting a brand new pair of shoes.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they inspire me.
yeah,
And lastly, man, just the experiences I've come across. The churches always get bad names, negative names, but I was at that point too when I was younger, thinking like that. But just some ministers, pastors, lay members, everything, just coming to encounter the encouragement, the confirmations, the prophetic that's poured into you,
yes,
people that
sir.
see stuff in you. So, but those are
Absolutely.
things. So
That's
I'll leave it
incredible.
those right there.
That's good, man. I always do that. I love asking the question because I just think people, man, they need to know what it looks like. You know how it feels. We know we're on a different side of the spectrum now. But come on, man, you know how it feels, Ray, when man, you scratching, you searching, and you trying to figure it out, but you don't have a role model. You don't have a roadmap, man. You don't have a playbook. And you out there trying to run sweeps when you need
Right,
to be running the ball in the gap.
right.
That's where the victory is. And there
Mm-hmm.
is a day where you're gonna be able to run the sweep, hit the edge, and take it home like Barry Sanders. But right now, homeboy, you need to have man, you need to have like a Earl Campbell mindset. I'm gonna smash it between the tackles.
Yeah.
But you only way you know that unless somebody you have to have a role map. You have to have a role model. That's why I'm saying we are those role models. So
Yes,
this
sir.
podcast, man, I don't care what nobody say. It's saving lives. You
Yes, sir.
understand? It's bringing life to people who in other situations wouldn't get it. And I get it, man. I'm a church boy. Trust me.
Mhm.
You can't miss me. I don't care who like it or don't like it. I'm a church boy. But I am wise enough to understand there's some people that follow this, they ain't never coming to the four walls. But
Right.
they'll sit here and watch this podcast every day. Right.
Yes, sir.
And so we have to be, man, we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, man. And so guys like you, man, this partnership means the world to me, man. And Ray, man, this has been so fun, man. I even hate to bring it to an end, but obviously we have to. But
Yes, sir.
New Balance family, come on, give it up for my man, Ray Young, man, Malik in the bow tie, man, all the things he's doing, man. Your family, I believe we might be on to some, Ray, man. And I can't wait to see what this relationship is going to yield, man. As we come to a close, man, as we always say in every episode, man, is strength for today, sustenance for tomorrow. And no matter who you are in life, no matter what your position is, all of us find ourselves in the need of a new balance. It's your boy, your potential conditioner, H2O. We'll see you next week. Love you. Peace.